Hello, it's Dawn Michelle from Boho Tarot, and welcome to my July reflections. So today I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the decks that I worked with in July, some of the goodies that I got, and then some of the things that I'll be doing moving into August. So first I want to say thank you to everyone who entered the giveaway. I was completely blown away by the response that I got, and it was a really exciting event, and I'm so glad that I was able to do that. So thank you to everybody who entered, and I look forward to doing more giveaways in the future because that was a lot of fun. So as far as my July memories, July was just a lot of working on projects and not necessarily projects that I had planned to work on. I ended up working on quite a few projects that were kind of spur of the moment. And while that's always fun, that does mean that I tend to get a little bit behind in my planned projects. So that's something that I will be focusing on coming into August. So first, let's go ahead and jump in and take a look at the decks that I had worked with in July. So the first two decks I worked with this month were the Santo Muerte and the Roots and Wings Oracle, and these two really worked very well together. I was actually quite surprised. I do love the kind of busyness of the Santo Muerte. It's not really busy, but there's a lot going on in these cards, which I quite enjoy. And then you pair that with the simpler nature of the Roots and Wings with that white space and that openness, and it just works really well to sort of balance each other out. And they really had just wonderful messages together. I mean, look how beautiful. I was kind of surprised. I wasn't sure when I paired these two that they would work so well together, but they really do have a gorgeous conversation, which I did really quite enjoy for the week that I worked with them together. The next two decks I worked with in July were the Vintage Wisdom Oracle and the Pagan Otherworlds Tarot. Now, it really is kind of no surprise that these two really work very well together. I tend to pair my Pagan Otherworlds with my Botanical Inspirations, but seeing as I had just finished trimming and edging this one, I wanted to give it a try, and I think they really do work quite well together. Again, we have that sort of busier, kind of more collage-y imagery paired with that a little bit more minimalistic imagery, and they just really do work quite well to balance each other out. And the messages that that you find in these two decks paired together are really quite beautiful. So I did really enjoy working with these two together in July. For the third week in July, I used my Tyldwick Tarot and my Botanical Inspirations. Now, my Tyldwick is generally not one that I use for daily draws. I use it more as a meditation deck, more as a path working type of deck. So this was the first time I've actually used it as a daily draw, and it just pairs beautifully with my Botanical Inspirations. This card came up for me, I think, 3 times that week. So I did actually note it in as its own separate thing because obviously there was some things for me to learn in that particular card. It does pair beautifully with Temperance here. But these two decks just really work together really well. Again, that same sort of energy, the more minimalistic art style paired with the busier art style really helps to balance things out, I think. And they just really have this gorgeous conversation, especially, you know, seeing as I don't tend to use the Tyldwick as a daily draw. I tend to use it more meditatively. But it did actually work quite beautiful, and I do really enjoy the way these two decks converse with each other. So it is definitely a pairing that I will be doing again. The next two decks that I used were the Slow Tarot and the Botanical Inspirations, again for my daily draws. Again, same type of concept as we saw with the Tyldwick and with all the other decks that I chose this month. We have the busier imagery or the more detailed imagery with the more minimalistic imagery, and it just works really well together. These two decks, same kind of energy, same type of vibe as we had with the Tyldwick, although this is not a deck that I would use for meditation as I do the Tyldwick. I still do really like the way that they played together, the conversations that they had. I actually used, I don't know why that was stuck together. Oh, because there's some glue on my card. Imagine that. There's glue on my decks. Nobody would probably be surprised to see that. I did use the Slow Tarot for quite a few readings in July, and you'll see that in my July journal pages that I use this deck quite frequently as I was trying to get to know it, kind of trying to work with it better. We got off to a little bit of a bumpy start, and you know, we're working it out, I guess. It was funny, one of the draws that I did, or one of the readings that I did, I got mostly cards in it that I have expressed a displeasure with. So I think this deck is definitely here to challenge me and to, you know, maybe teach me some lessons. Love this Queen of Swords. Anyway, it's just a beautiful deck. It really is. And I'm just still working through some of my particular things with it. But I have really enjoyed using it. I do have a full walkthrough of this deck coming. And again, pairing it with the Botanical Inspirations, I think just works beautifully. I think the color palette works really well, even though this is maybe more of a modern deck, and this is a little bit more of a kind of vintage antique type of deck. But I think they do work really well together. I am going to try pairing this one with a more modern oracle and see how that works out. But as you can see, I think they just, you know, they just work beautifully together. So the last two decks I used for my weekly draws was the Field Tarot and the Sacred Creators Oracle. Two very modern decks, which I think really work beautifully together. Their conversations that they have been really interesting. And the messages that the Sacred Creators is pulling out of the Field Tarot has been quite interesting. As you can see here, we have the Hierophant, and magic happens when you most expect it, which I think is a really interesting pairing. I really enjoyed the messages. Here we have Strength, Changemaker, Make Waves. This is a deck that is supposed to be more geared towards more businessy, soulpreneur, creative type of things, but I find that it works really beautifully with just general readings as well, and I really do like it as a daily card pull, because I think the messages are really simple. The guidebook is great if you want to dig into that, but I think there's plenty that you can get just off of these beautiful sayings, and of course the artwork is just gorgeous. Same for the Field Tarot. I love this card. I do have a walkthrough of this one coming too. Look, we have Creator Genes and the Four of Discs for stability. How beautiful is that? I really enjoy these two decks together. This deck has quite surprised me, which I talk about more in my walkthrough of it. And I think they work really well together. This is definitely a pairing that I think I will do again. And the cardstock on them is really similar, so from a tactile experience, they're really quite pleasing to use together. So here we have the Nine of Cups for fulfillment and the Sacred Flow of Yes. I mean, how beautiful is that? So the last deck that I want to show you that I used in July was the Mother's Wisdom deck, and this is the deck that I use every week. I pull one oracle card for a weekly message to go along with my daily tarot and oracle pulls, and this deck was quite lovely. I really enjoy the imagery, and I really enjoy the messages on the cards, and the guidebook is really nice, with the exception of that it is very heavily geared toward motherhood, which is fine. I mean, I am a mother, but I feel like the messages in this deck would have been better suited to me when my children were little. I feel like that's more of the vibe of this deck, is more for young mothers or mothers with younger children, because the issues that you face with older, you know, grown and mostly grown children is quite a bit different than the challenges and the struggles of having young children. So with that caveat, I did really enjoy the messages. There is some divinatory messages in this book, or in this book, and I'm just going to pull it out here just so you can see real quick. So the book does have a little bit about the card itself, and a little bit about sort of a message here, which I found this quite lovely. Most of this beginning part was what I pulled from, and then we go into more about you know, motherhood and you know, nurturing and caring for our children. And then a lot of times there's a more divinatory message towards the end as well. But you know, sometimes not. The book is gorgeous. It's beautifully produced. I love that we have these big images and you have, you know, just the basic information. But again, I do also like that this has this shadow meaning, which I think is quite lovely as well. You know, it really is a gorgeous oracle deck, but again, like I said, the guidebook is definitely, I feel, more, would have been fantastic. I wish I would have had this deck when my children were younger. I think that would have been wonderful, and I think I would have been able to connect with it a little bit better. But I do love the artwork, and I do love the message, and I did pick out quite a few nuggets of wisdom from the book. So I think that it works really beautifully. This is one of my favorite cards in the deck. So I definitely recommend it. And if you have young children, I think I really highly recommend it for that period in your time, that time of your life, because like I said, I wish I would have had this deck when my children were younger. I think it would have been really helpful to me, especially during those trying times, to maybe, you know, come to the deck and pull a card when I'm just, you know, those times when you're frustrated with your little ones, or you just don't know what else to do with them. You know, it happens to us all. It happens when they're older too. You know, that really, I don't think that ever stops when you're a parent. But like I said, the challenges are a little bit different. The way you nurture and care for your children is very different when they're 2 versus they're 20. So again, this, you know, totally off on a little tangent there, but if you have young children, I would highly recommend this deck. I think it's beautiful, and I think it would be most helpful for that. However, if you have older children, or you don't have children at all, or maybe you have, you know, fur babies, as some of us do, then I think it's still a beautiful deck for divination, for daily messages. I think it works quite well. I just think it's definitely more suited toward younger mothers, or mothers with younger children. But really enjoyed the messages, really enjoyed working with it, and it's definitely a deck that I will turn to again. So that is the Mother's Wisdom deck. Okay, now that we've checked out some of the decks I worked with in July, let's check out some of the goodies that I've got, because I got some awesome things in this last month. The first thing I want to note that I got in is this absolutely gorgeous fountain pen that my daughter brought to me from her trip to Germany. And she brought me back a ton of cartridges as well, so I should be set for a while. But this is just absolutely writes beautifully, and it has now become my favorite journaling pen. So that was really lovely of her to bring that back for me. It was a wonderful surprise. Next up, the other goodie that I got was this little skull. I'll try to zoom in on his little face because he's so cute. He's about an inch, so he's a little guy. And again, he doesn't have a name yet. Although I think, end up naming my other skull Lenny, and I don't know why. That's just the name that kept popping into my head. So my amethyst skull is Lenny, because I don't know, because it just needed to be. This one doesn't have a name yet, so hopefully that will be making its way into our world here soon. The other thing that I wanted to show you was that another bag that I created. Now I didn't make very many bags this month for myself, because I made bags for my shop, and that's something that I'll show you in another video. But so I only made one for myself, and as you can see, it's the same fabric that I had used in the giveaway journal on the giveaway bag. And it was kind of inspired by this, and I just thought it was absolutely beautiful. And I made it for my modern spellcasters, because I think it just works beautifully with this deck. I mean, how gorgeous is that? So that was another fun treat, and I think I might be making a journal to do my tarot bound studies with this deck. I think I still have a little bit of this fabric left, so I might make a journal for me for that. So that was the only bag that I crafted for myself, because I made bags for you guys. One of the real exciting surprises for July was that I did get in my copy of the Mysteries of Mary tarot deck, and this is a deck that I've been waiting on for quite some time, and I'm super excited to get it. It came with a whole bunch of goodies. It did come with some little stickers too, which are stuck to all the packaging, which I'm trying to hang on to because I'd like to put those in a journal. So I'm going to try to very carefully peel those off. Among the deck and book, I also got this little statue of Mary, which is beautiful. A little plastic pink rosary, which is gorgeous. A little Mary card. Again, we'll probably tuck that into a journal because that's just really beautiful. And then we have, move all these guys out of the way. Of course, the deck comes in this beautiful bag, so I don't need to make one for this. And here I will be doing a walkthrough on it, but let's just take a quick peek inside. It did come with this card that's been signed, and it has this rose wax stamp on it, which is absolutely beautiful. It's first edition dated, and this is just an extra card. So I thought that was really beautiful. And you guys, this deck is so gorgeous. I am so excited to have it in my collection. I can't wait to dig into it. It's not my usual thing, but I am really excited to take a look at this one and just, yeah, see how it goes. As you can tell, it's not in any order. I haven't like gone through it, but I assume because the creator has been really on top of everything. She's been really beautiful working with me and trying to get this deck, and so I assume it's all there. Beautiful backs. The cardstock is interesting. It's kind of got a textured finish to it, but it's quite flexible, so I think it's going to shuffle really well, even though it's quite large. I might trim these gold edges off just to make it just a tiny bit smaller, because it's going to be, you know, it's large and I have trouble with large decks, but yeah, it's just so beautiful. I can't wait to dig into it. And guys, what I'm really excited about is this book, because I hear this book is amazing and I cannot wait to read this. So it is The Inner Mysteries of the Journey of the Soul as Portrayed by Mary, which is such a wonderful, wonderful little idea. And it's just, you know, it's a basic guidebook. And it is signed, which is absolutely beautiful. And it just goes through all of the cards. And I'm super excited to sink into this one. It's going to be a fascinating read, I'm sure. So that is the Mysteries of Mary and all the wonderful goodies that came with it. So much fun. I think it's really fabulous when creators add these little touches, especially because, you know, some of these indie decks can be quite expensive, and it's always nice when you get those little extra touches and you have to wait a really long time for a deck. So it just makes it feel kind of worth it. Not that I think that this is needed. It's just such a lovely touch that really is appreciated. So here we have the other deck that I got in this month, which is the Minoan Tarot, and this one came with some gorgeous little postcards, which I will probably be working into a journal. This, of course, is for the Minoan Tarot, and this one is just some other cards from some other decks published by Arnell's Art. So lovely, which is who you purchase these decks for, and they are absolutely fabulous to work with. And in terms of you know, purchasing these decks, I've purchased this one and the Dark Goddess Tarot, and they've been wonderful to work with. So really great purchasing experience. This is another deck that I'm super excited to dig into. Again, another deck that I think really deserves some study, and it does have a beautiful little guidebook, which, like the Goddess Tarot, you know, gives you just a little bit about each of the cards, but just enough, I think. And it's full color, so I mean, that's gorgeous. I love when books have you know, some full color illustrations in it. I think that's really beautiful. And again, this is a deck that I haven't worked with, so it's completely in order because I just got it in not too long ago. But it's just absolutely gorgeous. I love her artwork. It's, you know, very much like the Dark Goddess. I unfortunately do not have the Tarot of the Crone, and I've talked with I believe it was Arnell that I talked with about, you know, if they ever decide to reprint the Tarot of the Crone, I would be all over that. But As it stands now, I do not currently have that, which I would really like to complete my collection of her decks, because I think they are just absolutely gorgeous, and I just love this art style. It's very simple, but there's so much going on in these cards that I just cannot wait to read the guidebook and really sink into them. This is another deck that I will probably be doing my deep dive work, my tarot bound course with it, and really excited to work with that one. One thing about the box, which I keep finding and I keep forgetting, don't put the lid on it when it's empty, because it's really hard to get it off. So just keep that lid separate, because it doesn't have the thumb holes. So just a quick note to self: stop forgetting and putting the box top on. I can't talk today. So that is just a look at some of the goodies that I got in this month. Oh, and a bag that I made, and just so much wonderfulness, so much thoughtfulness in all of these. Gift from my daughter, and these two gorgeous decks that are just so thoughtfully created, that I'm super excited to get into those. So those are the goodies that I got in July. Okay, and real quick, just to touch on some of the books that I have read or am planning on reading coming into August. I will do another longer book video, because that seemed to work really well, but I just wanted to make a quick mention of books. I did get, I think I mentioned in my last Books I'm Loving video, that I had purchased The Witch's Altar, which was by Laura Tempest Zakroff, because I had read Weave the Liminal and I absolutely loved it. So I bought this book, and I don't know that I think I'd mentioned I was going to get her Sigil Witchery. And of course, as you can see, I did get that one. So I'm super excited to dig into those. So these are my two definitely planning on digging deep into in August. And I'm really looking forward to those. I did finish up A Witch Alone as part of Mad Witch's book club, and I will leave a link in the description box below. This was a beautiful read. It's definitely a lot of sort of beginner information, but it definitely takes a more nature-based approach and a definite solitary approach to, obviously the essential guide for the solo practitioner of the magical arts. I talked about this book a little bit more, I think, in my Books I'm Loving video. I hadn't finished it at that point. I had just started it, but I finished it, and it was just a beautiful read. There are a couple of nuggets that I'm going to be pulling out of here to put into my journals, because, I think they were really important. But I think for a solitary practitioner, whether you follow a witch, pagan, any sort of natural type of path, I think this book would be really, really informational for you. And I think it would be a really beautiful read. So that was A Witch Alone. And the last book that, the newest book that I've published, the newest book that I've purchased is The Holy Wild, a Heathen Bible for the Untamed Woman. And this is by Danielle Dulski, who wrote Woman Most Wild, which I do have and I did read. Here, I'll just pop it out because I have it right here on my bookshelf. So this was I believe her first book, but I could be wrong. This is Woman Most Wild, 3 Keys to Liberating the Witch Within. This was a really beautiful read, but truth be told, I still haven't even finished it. You can see I'm a little less than halfway through. I find it to be quite a challenging read because it's very poetic. So I don't mean challenging. It's a very time-consuming read because it is so poetic. It's beautifully written, absolutely gorgeously written. However, I find that I read it very slowly, and I'm usually a pretty fast reader, so that's not usually a problem for me. But for this one, I just really need to take my time with it. It's gorgeously written, but again, it's a really slow read for me, which is unusual because I can usually finish quite a few books in a short amount of time. But anyway, I really quite enjoy it. And even though I haven't finished it, I went ahead and got her book, The Holy Wild, mostly because it said a heathen Bible for the untamed woman, and that just fascinated me. So I have not started it yet. I'm looking forward to reading it. the back, it says, this provocative book invites you to create your own spiritual path based on the often suppressed ancient principles and contemporary practices, using the elements earth, water, air, fire, ether, rather than traditional patriarchal hierarchies. This holy book is designed to connect each individual to their universal but often denied powers. That is kind of what caught me that little bit there. So that's really in tune with kind of the way my practice has evolved, and I'm just really looking forward to digging deep into that one as well. So these three are on my to be read list coming up, and then of course A Witch Alone was one that I finished. In Mad Witches Book Club, we are reading We the Liminal for August, but I've already finished that one, so I'm kind of digging deep into Laura's other books and looking forward to working with those. So that is kind of a brief look at my books for July and moving into August. So now that we've had a chance to talk a little bit about some of the things that were going on in July, let's talk about moving into August. So for August and September tend to be really busy months around here. We have a lot of family things that happen. School gets ready to start again, and it just kind of tends to be a little bit busy. And then of course, you know, add work things to that, and things can get your schedule can get quite jam-packed. So for August and possibly September, we'll see when we get a little bit closer in, I am only going to be, for the most part, only releasing 2 videos a week during August, and those will be on Tuesday and Thursday. I had been releasing videos 3 days a week, Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, but I just need to have a little bit of time to focus on some of those other projects. I do actually have a project going on for you guys as well that I'm trying to get wrapped up, and of course some work things and some personal projects as well. So in the month of August, I'll be scaling back my videos just a tad, just to give me a little bit of breathing room and some extra time to make some of those extra projects to get those going and wrapped up by the end of fall. I've kind of done a little bit of a schedule for you guys just so you know what's coming. So Tuesdays will be my tarot videos, and those are going to be, you know, walkthroughs and just general random tarotness. And then Thursday this month, I have some crafting videos. I do have a new video on a new deck that I started modding, and some more of my oracle cards that I'm making from my Akashic Tarot. And then I actually have some journaling videos. So I've been doing a bit more journaling, and I've started including a little bit more of those into my channel. I haven't been doing more journaling. I'm still journaling the same amount that I usually do, which is pretty much a ton, but I've been making more journal things. So they're kind of crafty videos, even though they're about journaling, but I'll be releasing some of those. I hope you guys like them. I would love to know if you'd love to see more of these journaling type process videos, is really more what they are. So if you'd like to see more of those, let me know for sure. And so in August, it'll just be, you know, a couple less videos than normal, but that will give me that breathing time that I need to wrap up some projects that I need to get done by the end of fall. And like I said, this may be in moving into September type of thing as well, but we'll have to wait and see how much I can get done in August. We do have a ton of plans, so it's going to be a bit of a challenge to get it all in, but I am definitely going to try. So I think that is it for me today. I hope you had a wonderful July, and I hope you have a fantastic August. And as always, I look forward to seeing you again soon for more creative tarot for an inspired life.